welcome to Movie Rob. Today we're back again with another episode. Usually I try to mix up comedy, action, adventure, horror, thriller, and so on with my episodes. My last episode was about Dracula, which is, a horror franchise of the 50s, 60s, 70s. And so I wanted to do something lighter, but because of the sort of popularity of that, I thought I'd continue with the horror genre just this once again and go to a franchise that I loved as a kid. I'm not a huge fan of horror, but this particular franchise and a couple of more franchises from the 70s, 80s that I really, grew up watching and really liking. But this is one of my favorites, and it's Friday the 13th. There are a lot of movies in this series, so we're going to have to start straight away. So let's deep dive into Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th is a classic slasher set in the eerie Camp Crystal Lake, where a group of young counselors arrive to prepare the long-abandoned site for reopening. As they settle in, strange and unsettling events begin to occur, and it soon becomes clear that someone or something is watching them from the shadows. One by one, the group find themselves in increasing danger as fear and paranoia take hold. The film builds tension through its isolated setting, suspenseful pacing, and a sense of unseen menace, becoming one of the defining entries in the horror genre. The film was directed by Sean S. Cunningham and was actually inspired by the success of the film Halloween, released a few years earlier. Despite a relatively low budget, the movie became a massive box office hit and quickly developed a cult following.
Friday the 13th. You may only see it once, but that will be enough. Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th Part 2 continues the story of terror surrounding Camp Crystal Lake. Set a few years after the original, the film follows a new group of camp counselor trainees attending a nearby camp designed to teach survival skills. As they settle into their training, they begin to experience strange occurrences, and it soon becomes clear that a deadly presence is lurking in the surrounding woods. As night falls, the group find themselves isolated and increasingly vulnerable, leading to a series of terrifying encounters that test their instincts and will to survive. The film was directed by Steve Miner, who had previously worked as a producer on the first movie. It marks the first time the audiences see Jason Voorhees as the main antagonist, although his iconic hockey mask had not yet been introduced. The movie was shot quickly to capitalize on the success of the original and was filmed in Connecticut rather than New Jersey, where the first film was primarily shot.
Sandra? Jeff?
The day you count on for terror is not over. Friday the 13th. Part 2.
Friday the 13th, Part 3 follows a group of friends who travel to a secluded lakeside cabin near Crystal Lake for a relaxing getaway. What begins as a fun, carefree trip soon turns into a nightmare when they realize the area is not as abandoned as it seems. Strange encounters and a growing sense of dread build as the group becomes aware that a dangerous presence is stalking them in the surrounding woods. As tension rises, the friends must confront their fears and fight to survive the escalating terror. The film was again directed by Steve Miner and was originally released in 3D, taking advantage of the early 1980s 3D craze, and with many shots designed specifically to jump out at the audience. It is also the film where Jason Voorhees dons his now iconic hockey mask, a look that would become synonymous with the character and the franchise going forward.
Jason will come to you. Friday the 13th, Part 3 in 3D. A new dimension in terror. It will scare you. Count on it.
Friday the 13th, the final chapter, continues the terror near Crystal Lake, where a new group of teenagers arrives for a weekend getaway, unaware of the danger that still lingers in the area. As they settle in, they cross paths with their nearby family, including a young boy with a fascination for masks and special effects. Before long, the sense of normalcy fades, and a familiar, relentless threat begins to close in, turning their trip into a desperate fight for survival. The film combines suspense, tension, and more character-driven moments, particularly through the interactions between the teens and the neighboring family. Directed by Joseph Zito, the film was intended to be the final installment in the series, hence the title, although its success led to many more sequels. It also features an early role for Corey Feldman, who would go on to become a well-known teen actor in the 1980s. Special effects legend Tom Savini returned to the franchise for this entry, bringing some of the most memorable and graphic effects in the series.
He never utters a word. He doesn't even seem to breathe.
Where the hell's the corkscrew?
He simply, mindlessly, mercilessly kills. But now, Jason's reign of terror is over. Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Friday, April 13th, is Jason's unlucky day.
Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning, follows the character of Tommy Jarvis, the young boy seen in the previous film. Now older and still haunted by past trauma, he arrives at a secluded halfway house for troubled teens. Hoping for a fresh start, he instead finds himself in an unsettling environment where tensions run high among the residents. When a series of violent incidents begin to occur, fear spreads through the group, and suspicion grows as it becomes clear that a new wave of terror has been unleashed. As paranoia builds, the residents struggle to determine who or what is behind the attacks, creating a more psychological edge alongside the film's traditional slasher elements. The film was directed by Danny Steinman and took the series in a slightly different direction, focusing more on mystery and suspense. It was also one of the more controversial entries due to its emphasis on violence and darker tone, leading to significant cuts by the ratings board before release. Despite mixed reactions, it has since gained a cult following among fans of the franchise.
The mindless, murderous fury that was buried with Jason has been reborn.
Pete!
And suddenly, terror has become child's play. Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning.
Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives, follows once again Tommy Jarvis as he attempts to finally put an end to the nightmare that has haunted him for years. Returning to the area around Crystal Lake, his plan does not go as expected, and he unintentionally awakes a new wave of terror. As a group of camp counselors and children gather at a nearby summer camp, an ominous presence begins to stalk the grounds once again. Blending suspense with a touch of dark humor, the film stands out for its self-aware tone, while still delivering the tension and thrills the series is known for. The film was written and directed by Tom McLaughlin, who introduced a more stylized and almost gothic approach to the story. It also marked the first time Jason Voorhees is portrayed with a more supernatural, almost indestructible presence. Additionally, the movie features a nod to classic monster films, particularly Frankenstein, in one of its memorable scenes.
They thought the nightmare was dead and buried. They were wrong. Jason lives.
Happy Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th, Part 6. Jason lives.
Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood, introduces a new kind of threat to the Crystal Lake legend. The story follows a teenage girl with powerful telekinetic abilities who returns to the lake years after a traumatic childhood incident. As she struggles to control her powers, she unintentionally awakens a familiar evil lurking beneath the surface. With a group of unsuspecting teens nearby, events quickly spiral into chaos as her abilities collide with a deadly force now on the loose, leading to a tense and supernatural showdown. The film was directed by John Carl Buechler, who was also a renowned special effects artist. This entry is often nicknamed Jason vs. Carrie due to its similarities to the film Carrie, particularly the use of telekinetic powers. Due to strict censorship at the time, many of the film's more graphic effects had to be cut, even though they were originally created in detail by the production team.
Concentrate, Dina!
The one you've been dying for.
You people give me the creeps.
Okay, you big hunk of a man, come and get me!
Jason is back. But this time, someone is waiting.
Jason?
Dina, don't go in there!
Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood.
Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, follows a group of high school graduates celebrating their trip to New York City aboard a cruise ship. What begins as a festive journey soon turns into a nightmare when a familiar and deadly presence makes its way on board. As the ship travels towards Manhattan, the passengers find themselves trapped and isolated, with danger lurking around every corner. When the voyage finally reaches New York, the terror continues in an unfamiliar urban setting as the survivors attempt to navigate the city while evading the relentless threat pursuing them. The film was directed by Rob Hedden and is notable for moving much of the action away from Crystal Lake for the first time. Despite its title, only a portion of the movie was actually filmed in New York City, with many scenes shot in Vancouver due to budget constraints. The film aimed to bring a fresh twist to the series by placing Jason Voorhees in a completely different environment.
Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Now, New York has a new problem.
Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday, takes the series in a very different direction, opening with authorities seemingly putting an end to the long-standing terror surrounding Crystal Lake. However, the evil does not disappear. Instead, it begins to manifest in unexpected ways, affecting different people and spreading beyond a single physical form. As a small group of characters uncovers the truth behind what is happening, they realize that stopping the threat will require understanding its origins and confronting it on a deeper, more supernatural level. The film was directed by Adam Marcus and was the first in the series to be produced by New Line Cinema rather than Paramount Pictures. It expands the mythology of Jason Voorhees in a more supernatural and controversial way, which divided fans at the time. The movie also includes a hidden nod to another famous horror franchise, A Nightmare on Elm Street, hinting at a possible crossover that would eventually happen years later.
And this is your final chance to see it. Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday.
Jason X takes the long-running series into the future, where the infamous killer is cryogenically frozen and later discovered by a group of students aboard a spaceship. When he is accidentally revived, the crew quickly realizes they have brought a deadly force back to life, one that is even more dangerous in a high-tech environment far from Earth. As the situation spirals out of control, the survivors must use their wits and futuristic tools to try and stop the relentless threat moving through the ship. The film was directed by James Isaac and was originally intended to refresh the franchise by placing Jason Voorhees in a completely new setting. Due to delays related to the development of the film Freddy vs. Jason, the film's release was postponed for some time after production had already been completed. It has since gained a cult following for its unique blend of sci-fi and slasher elements, as well as its more self-aware tone.
He's here.
You have got to get them out of there.
Hey, Slappy!
I think we're finally okay.
What the hell is that?
You've got to be kidding me.
Oh, wow.
He's been modified.
Oh, you think?
You guys might want to run.
Freddy vs. Jason brings together two of horror's most iconic killers in a long-awaited showdown. The story follows a series of mysterious events that begin to blur the lines between dreams and reality as a new wave of terror spreads among a group of teenagers. As the body count rises, it becomes clear that two powerful and very different forces are at work, each with their own motives. Caught in the middle, the teens struggle to understand what's happening and search for a way to survive, while the conflict between the two deadly figures escalates towards an inevitable confrontation. The film was directed by Ronnie Yu and had been in development for over a decade, with numerous scripts and ideas considered before it was finally made. It unites Jason Voorhees with Freddy Krueger from A Nightmare on Elm Street. The movie was a major box office success and became one of the highest grossing entries in both franchises. The film serves as the 11th Friday the 13th movie and 8th Nightmare on Elm Street film.
Welcome to my nightmare.
We're not safe awake or asleep.
Why won't you die? Freddy versus Jason.
Place your bets.
And finally, Friday the 13th from 2009 reimagines the early events of the series, returning to the familiar setting of Crystal Lake. The story follows a group of young adults who travel to the area for a weekend getaway, unaware of the dark history tied to the location. As they explore the woods and nearby cabins, they begin to sense that they are not alone. When people start to disappear, the group is forced into a desperate struggle for survival against a relentless and cunning threat that knows the terrain far better than they do. The film was directed by Marcus Nispel and produced by Michael Bay through his company Platinum Dunes, which specialized in horror remakes during that period. Rather than being a straightforward remake, the film combines elements from the first few entries of the original series into a single updated story. It was also one of the highest grossing opening weekends for a horror film at the time of its release.
My sister, she came camping up around here with some friends. She's gone missing.
She ain't missing. She's dead. People go missing around here, they're gone for good.
Here it is. Make yourselves at home. Mi casa es su casa.
You know how many thousands of people disappear every year? There's no evidence. No car. No witnesses.
All right, you ready?
Ready? Let's do it!
This is a man's sport.
There's a guy up there carrying the 8 dead bodies.
We'll bring trouble. Just won't be left alone. And so does he.
So does who?
Richie, stop fucking around.